Welcome to another episode of the Blue Elephant Brigade podcast with your hosts, John Hoover and Phil Hernandez. Special guest this week, Josh Schwartz. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about Josh's adventures digging for fossils, stupid humans in the news as always, and we'll be reviewing the Netflix Defenders episode. Just was released yesterday, and I have officially finished watching the entire new run of Defenders episodes.
Wow.
I have not yet.
Yeah.
I did rush through and finish. I hadn't finished Iron Fist, so I got that done and watched a couple episodes of Defenders, so I got some stuff to say about it.
Yeah, I woke up early yesterday morning, not really planned or anything like that. I just happened to, and I was like, I got nothing else to do, and hey, it's after 3 a.m. Eastern time. Let's go watch some Defenders. So
You guys are way ahead of me. I just learned about this when John told me. And so I've seen the first 2 episodes of Defenders, but I haven't seen any of Jessica Jones or Iron Fist, or I don't even know what else there is.
Daredevil and Luke Cage.
Luke Cage.
Do all of them have separate shows?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, there's 2 seasons out of Daredevil and 1 of all the rest so far.
I wonder if there's a way to play everything on double speed so I can get through it faster.
Yeah, I was actually looking for that for Luke Cage. I didn't find a way to do it, or not Luke Cage, but the Iron Fist.
Yeah, Iron Fist is a painful watch.
Yeah, it's a slow start, to be sure. It was the only one, like, I had been pretty up to date, and then, like, it came out, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And, like, started it, and, like, episode 1 was done, and I was like, all right, well, I have other things to do. And I didn't get back to it until I talked to you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. I think that's my least favorite. That's definitely my least favorite of all of the 3 of those, or 4 of those.
I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, I'm a huge Daredevil fan. Daredevil was probably one of my favorite heroes growing up as a kid. So, I love the Daredevil stuff.
Yeah.
I think Jessica Jones is fantastic. Like, even besides being a comic book, property, comic book show, whatever, like, it is just a good show. It is really well done. Probably one of the better Marvel villains that they've had to date. Yeah. With the Purple Man in that. It's a tragic story. It's really, really well done. Luke Cage was great for like the first 3/4, and then they killed off the good villain, and it kind of falls off the rails a little bit. But all in all, it's still good. Iron Fist, I wanted to like it. I wish that they had made Iron Fist good at martial arts. He jumps over a car at one point. That was pretty impressive. And then
for the first episode, like, that is the extent, he's just, like, I don't know, they played it off like there was, like, suspense of, like, what, oh man, is he, like, going to really be a superhero, or does he have special powers?
Right.
Like, we know like what he is. He's going to have a glowing fist, and, like, the first hour-long episode, the only thing that he does is jump over a car.
Yeah.
And then I think in the second episode there might have been a fight, but it was like several episodes in before, like, he gets his signature glowing hand. And then since I binged it all, they all kind of all blend together. But I think it suffers. The writing was not that great for the Iron Fist, and I think that since it's all out, we're fine with discussing spoilers for all of them except for Defenders.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't watched, the other ones, hey, guess what? There's going to be spoilers in this probably about those. Just a heads up. We'll probably minimize. I'm not going to spoil all the Defenders because, I just happened to have enough time yesterday to plow through the whole thing. Normally, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I'm. So almost all of them, the Netflix Marvel stuff, they kind of tend to stretch things out a little bit, and there's a lot of just normal TV show trying to extend the plot and add little things that don't really need to be in there because they need 13 episodes. I think a lot of them, which I'm excited for the Defenders since it's 8 episodes long.
Right. And it doesn't feel like that too much as you're going through it. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of wasted plot points. in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, and hopefully because like they have all 4 people they can throw in there
Yep.
and all of their supporting cast, so there's never. I've just got to the point where basically everybody's kind of started to talk to each other and meet up. So I'm happy with the Defenders so far. It reminds me a lot of the Daredevil writing and style, and that's
Yep.
my favorite of those. Daredevil and Luke Cage are my 2 favorite for all those that are out.
How many episodes of Defenders have you seen, Josh?
I think 3. I'm in episode 3 or in episode 4. I forget.
I've only
I think
seen the
3.
first 2 episodes. Well,
All right, so we're about the same place.
yeah. But, so did you feel that way about Marvel's Agents of Shields, or have you seen that?
Yeah, I stopped watching that. It was maybe the first or maybe the second season. I forget like how they actually did those, but I was excited to watch that. But kind of the same premise where like there's kind of things just kind of added to milk the duration of the show and kind of not necessary.
My problem with the when I tried to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was that it just seemed like the writing was so bad on it. Like, you know, I'm a big fan of The West Wing, right? And I actually like watched an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on purpose, and then watched an episode of West Wing afterwards, and to just like compare like the style of writing and the quality of it.
Yeah.
And it felt like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shouldn't even be considered like it shouldn't even be on TV. Like it's so bad when you stand next to like a great show. There's no comparison between the two.
And they're already in a kind of a hole with the low budget non-cinematic Marvel because they have that budget limitation. They don't have like the big star power, and so they do feel like very isolated in their own thing. Like they can't like have any like, oh, let's just have an Iron Man cameo like show up to, you know, kind of tie everything together. They kind of have to be self-contained, and like I know that like out of all of the shows, I imagine that Iron Fist probably has the most special effects just because of maybe the hand, but like a lot of the other ones they actually are like moving cars and like breaking through walls and stuff. So I don't know. It's hard. That's the issue with Netflix shows in general too, is that Netflix never discloses any of that information. So
if I was to have one complaint about the Defenders, it would be that. It'd be that you can tell that the budget was somewhat limited for the special effects, especially during like as the season goes on, like the fight scenes all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like cars moving around by invisible forces and like cinder blocks exploding, and you know there are a couple of like big effect scenes and they're not real well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if that's why they only did 8 episodes also. And I'm sure that also paying all the actors.
There's a lot of big actors in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was only, I'm trying to think if they had any in Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, but the Daredevil long fights in hallways like thing. There was a couple in Iron Fist that I was like, all right, here's the stereotypical Netflix hallway fight that they took from was it Old Boy?
Yeah, and I think everybody's seen in the Defenders preview that there's a hallway fight in Defenders too.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And it's early on too. It's not that far into it. It's like episode 3 or 4 you get your hallway fight.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty early in, yeah.
The Daredevil ones, like the first one, that was pretty great. Like it's a long, continuous shot.
Right. That's what's cool about it, is that it's a continuous shot the whole time that they're showing this thing, and they don't do it for any of the other ones. Like the Daredevil stairwell scene, which was their one for season 2, you can tell that there's cuts in that. Like there's points where they go from like looking at his back to showing him coming up the stairs the other way. Like obviously that's a cut.
Yep.
A few other times. Yeah, I think the Iron Fist ones had even more. Like it was really obvious that wasn't a continuous scene at all.
Phil, I would recommend watching them. Like if you're into kind of the superhero stuff, and it's I don't know if I'd recommend binging it or not, but like I think maybe the plus side is that it's over and all contained. You can kind of keep it all track, but if you kind of space it out, I don't know. Anyway, the Daredevil is like the best, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never really liked Daredevil. You know, it just seems kind of a little.
Yeah, well, like you thinking of like the old like movies with
Ben Affleck.
like yeah.
That's
Did you
probably a large influence. Yeah.
So like John and my like comic influence, like I think that like John read all the comics that I didn't read.
Oh
and
yeah.
vice versa. So like I think you were like big into X-Men.
Yep.
And,
X-Men, Daredevil, Spawn. I read a lot when I was growing
all
up.
right. Yeah. So I was big into that. Like when that when Image like got formed and they had their own thing, I bought all that stuff. But like I got into comic books right at the time that all the current movie stuff happened. So like I was into Silver Surfer when the Infinity Gems and all that stuff got brought back, and the whole Marvel started to pull all their stuff together. And so like the movies that are coming out are basically like my childhood put on like film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pretty great.
Yeah, and I wish that they got their like shit together a little bit earlier with like some of the X-Men movies and everything.
Yeah, that made me sad, like watching the X-Men, because those were really the stories that I grew up with. The first X-Men movies and all that stuff, you know, the Phoenix Saga and that.
Yeah.
And the quality of it just isn't there.
Yeah, I really was hoping for a lot when I was really hoping for like the Phoenix Saga, like in movies, and that just kind of like was their on the end of their like start of plummet.
Yep.
Not really anything, but.
It kind of seems like the first series of X-Men movies I thought they were good. Maybe not the best, but I thought they were good. It was certainly better than nothing and the types of movies that had been coming out.
Yeah.
But
I
then
think it probably still holds up. I haven't seen them in a couple of years, but
better than the unreleased Fantastic Four movie from back in the 80s or early 90s. I think.
Yeah, I think that's late in the 90s.
What unreleased?
You've never seen it, Phil?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen clips and parts of it. It's really bad.
I've never even tried to find the whole thing. I've just seen like still images and clips and stuff like that, and it's unwatchable.
It's like old Spider-Man TV show bad.
Yeah, like Styrofoam, the thing, you know, orange painted Styrofoam.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's like there's porn with higher like quality from that era.
I'm looking at the images on a Google search for that film, and it's horrible.
Really bad. Yep.
Oh, Dr. Doom. What did they do? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. So we probably should have mentioned that little background on Josh here. He was one of the founding members of the Blue Elephant Brigade back in the Navy days on the ship.
Yep.
You got one of the founding four. There we go. What year did you get to the ship, Josh?
I got to the ship I got January of 2000.
Okay.
So
yeah.
they were in the yards. Roosevelt was in the shipyards, and I did that cycle. And then I was on the cruise for the 159 day after 9/11 cruise.
Yep.
And then I got off the ship right before the second Iraq War cruise.
Right. Yeah, because you had been there for 2 years when I showed up, because I got there in 2002.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of a different path, like getting into the nukes. So as I was a conventional ET to begin with, and then got like poached because they needed nukes, and so while I was in the conventional A school, yes, that's the first one, right? Conventional.
Yeah.
For
those that don't know, A school is advanced school, correct?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I was in conventional ET school. I'll say that non-nuclear electronic technician school.
Yeah.
And they they needed nukes because they constantly leave all the time for some reason. And they like sent me to like a physics class and everything, and then had me retake the nuke test, and then I went down to Orlando. So by the time I got down to Orlando, I had already been in for over 6 months. So
Okay.
I'd already, when I got to the ship, it was already past my 2-year point.
Yeah, because we had somebody that came through our school with us that had the same thing, where they were conventional AT and they were going back through to become a nuke. But he'd been in for quite a while at that point. He had actually been on a ship and stuff, and got pulled back to school.
Restrike as
and he hated
that doesn't happen very often.
He he's this somewhat salty sailor at this point. I think he'd been on a ship for a year or so, and now he's stuck with these damn kids. For those that don't know, Navy nuke school is basically like being in college. I mean, really, it's a bunch of.
I was pretty bitter also, because coming out of boot camp, you're very boot campy. You're all like, "Yay, we're in the military. We're gonna, we're so
you're
hard."
out of boot camp, right? So everything's a step up.
Right, yeah. But everybody has like, "Oh man, we had it so rough in boot camp, not like anybody else before." Yeah. And I'd already been out for 6 months, and that had already, faded. And then I was around everybody that was like, "Oh man, remember boot camp?" I'm like, yeah, all right.
And you're going from being on a ship where you're kind of independent and doing your thing, and now you're at A school. Yeah, which was luckily, highly regimented. And
I don't know how it was in Charleston for you guys. Did you go to a big open berthing area in Charleston? No. In Orlando they had a big open berthing that you went into for several weeks, and then you went into dorms.
Yeah, it was 6 stories tall, and it was just huge rooms, like 2 huge rooms.
Yeah, it was very much like boot camp setup. I got to avoid all of that. I showed up with a truck full of furniture and stuff, and they're like, "I guess we can't stick you here." Well, they actually stuck me in a room with some power school guys, and so they left, and then a lot of the time I had a whole quad to myself.
So Charleston, it's like dorm rooms basically that you're in. It's shared dorm rooms. It's 2 to a room, and you share a bathroom with 2 more guys, or or 2 girls to a room and 2 girls share whatever.
School in Charleston, so that was the same setup as I had there. So that was the same for
yeah.
John, did you go to Orlando?
No, not at all. I don't think I was in the first year of Charleston, but I was pretty close.
I think I was not the last class, but I was one of the last classes to go through there. Yeah. The base was closing up as we left.
Yeah, I think I was the second to the last class in Orlando and the second class in Charleston. And I got to tell you that the stuff in Charleston was so much nicer than Orlando. Not just the berthings, but I think it was, what was that? Was it building 629 or something that you showed up in the very beginning in Orlando? Oh, neither of you is going to know that.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Not me. I showed up and they didn't know what to do with me. And so I had to they pointed me all around the place trying to find out who the hell I needed to talk to.
That was always fun in the military when you show up with a unique circumstance that they haven't had to deal with before. Stand by to stand by.
Uh-huh. Well, they did the same thing they didn't know Roosevelt didn't expect me. When I showed up, they were like, "Oh, yeah, I guess you're supposed to be here," and I still got paid, so I didn't really care. So
I showed up the day you guys got back from the Afghan war, and it was literally no, we're not dealing with you today. Go away, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Yeah.
I can imagine. We were pretty much
got told to go away, basically. Come back in a few days. We'll deal with you then.
Yeah. So I have I heard I listened to the other 2, the previous podcast, and that was the case on the way back, that we pulled into Bahrain and for our little 8 stop, and then it was already past our 6-month point, and the ship was like, "Hey, guys, how about we pull into Marseille, France?" And everybody on the ship is like, no, don't do it. And they're like, great, we're doing it. We need to paint the ship. And so they painted the ship so it would look pretty when we came home. But
sorry, my dog's laying next to me here right now, and Tigger is apparently having a dream. So I'm pointing my action cam at him, and he can be embarrassed and show up on the podcast later.
Yeah.
He's got his tongue sticking out at the moment. But yeah, I thought that was the case, that they had made you guys pull in, and then they painted one side of the ship, and meanwhile, like, people are getting, it's like some basically like a shipping town in France, like a bunch of ruffians port. And people getting beat up and all kinds of stuff going on there, right?
It's one of the a bunch of sailors that haven't. So Bahrain, most people were pretty okay. Like, we were not crazy like sailors, because it was a Middle Eastern country. But France, not so much. Like, there was like a lot of clamshelling happening for people getting back on the ship, and like.
For those who don't know what clamshelling is when you're so drunk that they don't want to deal with your ass. So they take you, put you in one of the stretchers, which the Navy stretchers have sides on them. It's a kind of like half of a steel coffin.
Yeah, like
with wire mesh.
Like a chicken wire kind of thing.
Yeah, with chicken wire mesh on the sides. And clamshelling is when they take two of those, put you in between them, and zip tie them shut around you so you can't get into anything or cause any trouble, and they leave you there to sober up in your metal coffin of chicken wire.
And so, like, but when the carriers are so big that they really can't pull like into a port and like just let you walk off. So a lot of times we have boats that take us to and from the ship, and if you're a drunk and they don't want you to fall off the ship, they'll clamshell you. And so you can't fall off, but if something happens to the boat, you're dead because you can't get out. So it's a good deterrent not to be entirely plastered when you get back, or be a good actor.
I never saw them clamshelling anybody during my time in, so I don't know if they must have stopped doing it at some point, because it seems like a kind of crazy idea when you stand back and look at what's going on there.
Yeah, I think it was Gonzo that I got to see clamshell, maybe. I forget. It was somebody from RE in Marseille that I got to watch that happen and write the book with that.
RE being the reactor electrician division for you guys that weren't in the Navy, and Gonzo being the nickname for one of the guys in the reactor electrician division.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
But so Navy stories.
Yep.
We have lots of those.
So, looking for things to talk about this week, I came across this story for our continuing series on stupid humans and the things that they do throughout the week. Let me go ahead and pull this up for a moment here. I had the picture loaded up ready to go, but then I had to restart the computer. So,
is this another one from Florida?
No, this isn't Florida Man this week, thankfully. He took the week off for a change. This would be this actually took place.
You guys have one that like travels around that like he's a state employee to like gets paid around to make an ass of himself.
Yeah, to keep Florida in the news, just in case. Yeah, it's the Trump media strategy. Doesn't matter what the story's about. Any press is good press, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, this actually came from let's see, the Netherlands is where this would came out of. And let me pull the picture up here so you guys can see what I'm looking at real quick. And yeah, do you guys see the picture?
The hell?
Yeah, those
so here's
street posts.
Yeah, so here's the headline of the story that goes with this nonsense. Man arrested for driving with 2 stolen lampposts on his car.
Stolen, all right.
Yeah, let's see. So a Dutch man was arrested after police spotted him driving with a pair of stolen lampposts on top of his car.
Well, they
The
don't look.
Stad police shared a photo of a small hatchback vehicle carrying 2 long concrete poles on the side of a brick road. Police pulled over the driver traveling from Lestad to Almere and found he was guilty of several violations, including improperly transporting the likely stolen lampposts.
Very specific law.
Apparently, I mean, right? Like,
Must be a
apparently
problem
what that
happening a
indicates
lot.
is that this has happened before. It's an ongoing problem, and they still haven't solved it.
Yeah, I wonder what intent, what he would be using them for. Like,
I was wondering that too. Like, what is the purpose? Although the story goes on, the reporting officer, we start with the traffic violations. The cargo should not be transported in this way, must be clear. In addition, the car was not insured, and his registration had expired for more than 3 months. Police also found, and this is the unsurprising part of the whole story, the driver appeared to be under the influence of alcohol. Of course. I mean, come on now. That's not a sober thing that you're doing.
how did he get them on top of his car? Like, those can't be like that light.
And
No,
while
it doesn't. I mean, they're pretty solid looking. So they look like they're made out of steel, maybe aluminum, if I had to guess.
Yeah. It said,
Yeah.
The story said concrete. I don't think that's concrete.
They don't look like concrete. Yeah, they're too thin to be concrete.
Yeah.
But
No, but it gives me good ideas for like car joust.
that needs to be a thing.
for what?
Car jousting. Yeah, you put get like some hatchbacks, put some like street poles on it, and then just drive at each other. It's like demolition derby, but way medieval.
Way medieval and way deadlier. I mean, so I'm thinking you need 2 people, right? Because you have to be able to aim your jousting stick
Yeah,
somehow while driving.
Well, he did a good
you need
job
like a
of
shield too.
balancing.
So you need to like open your car door or something to be like the shield.
Yeah.
I don't see
Or
how
to
he-
bail out as you're about to get impaled by this long aluminum pole.
Yeah. Does it say anything about his intentions or anything?
No, it goes on to say that so he refuses the breathalyzer, which everybody knows that's a bad idea. So apparently the laws there work that if you refuse the breathalyzer, that you automatically get the maximum punishment for the DUI. Let's see. Upon investigating the origins of a lamppost, police determined they were stolen from Almere and that the driver was guilty of other offenses, such as fueling his vehicle without paying. Driver was ultimately taken into custody and the vehicle was confiscated by police. So
I saw a person leaving the hardware store last week that they had a whole table like on their hood. They were just holding on. It wasn't even tied down. It was just upside down. And I was like, man, I need to really follow these people, but I also got things to do, so I wish them the best of luck.
And you don't really want to follow them, at least not too closely, for when it does fly off. Yeah. I've seen people doing that with a mattress here in Florida. I've also seen somebody tie a mattress on top of their car in Florida, and it's an older mattress.
Yeah.
And so as they're driving along the road, all of a sudden the front of the mattress becomes a giant sail on top of their car. And they don't realize it, apparently. They just keep on going. Yeah. Why isn't my car accelerating? I don't understand what's happening. I can only go 30 miles an hour because there's a sail on top of my car.
At least this guy has ratcheting straps on these poles.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks fairly secure. I mean, that's what the problem is.
Yeah. Just maintain your distance, like a 4 second, 5.
For those who can't see it, we'll throw the pictures up on both our website and our Facebook page. If you want to check this wonderful image out.
Bolting with it too. That'd be great.
I like that idea. I like the idea of car pole vaulting. Right, you get a roll cage, you get a 5-point harness inside of there. You can go as many tries you get as your car continues to run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see what the problem is. I mean, I'm amazed nobody's done like any kind of motorized pole vaulting yet. That seems like it is an Olympic sport that's begging to be either have motors added to it or rockets added to it.
Yeah.
One of the
You
two.
get those the guys that what's the that robot is it MIT or Boston Dynamics, the robot like it always remind me of dogs, but they're the ones that are like designed to like help out with carrying stuff in the field and things like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the little army robots that can carry and supposedly like they can go over pretty much any obstacle, can't be knocked down, all that
They
stuff.
actually lost their contract, I think, because they were too loud. They turns out that being loud in a combat zone is
war zone's a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw a video the other day of one of those. They mounted a like a manipulation like arm on the front end, and it could open doors and stuff. And then you always see videos of like people being dicks to them because they're like testing them out. So like the robot opened the door, and then the guy was like shoving the door like in his face, and like seeing how it like didn't freak out and have issues.
Wow.
But
cruelty robots.
You could do something with that with like robotic pole vaulting and eventually sword fighting.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll be Gundam.
I've seen that they've started doing drone racing. I've seen that. The unmanned drones that they do racing now. I figure it's only a matter of time until that turns into combat pretty quick, I would imagine.
Well, one of the sad things about jousting is that sometimes the horses get hurt. So if you had those robotic dogs, then you could go jousting and not worry about animal cruelty.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I was actually at a Ren Fair a couple weeks ago and saw like the joust and everything.
Or you could just make a human sit on top of a car with a lamppost in his arm, under his arm, and have them charge towards each other that way. I mean, we're talking about
way easier.
That does seem way easier.
You don't need to know anything about robotics, and like there's tons of people.
Yeah, there's plenty of people.
Practically expendable.
People and cars,
basically.
Now those poles look like they could fit into one another, so you could possibly extend it to twice the length. Wonder if that'd be feasible.
Maybe he was like had plans to do like whale fishing.
Whale fishing?
Yeah. There's all sorts of this guy. Clearly, we need to talk to this guy and see what he had in mind.
He clearly had a plan that we're just not aware of.
Yeah, it's not something, even drunk, it's not something that you're like, I just got to have these. I don't know why.
Honestly, I don't think I could do that while I was drunk. So maybe he's just that good.
Yeah, I think that would sober me up pretty good. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of motivation for being drunk.
Yeah, like, I wonder if he like knew that these things were there and then like drove there and picked them up, or if he was just driving around drunk and was like, yeah,
it'd be funny if I had these strapped on the roof of my car. That'd be funny.
Yeah. It'll like blend right in. Nobody will. It's very inconspicuous.
Yeah. Nobody will think anything of it. It's fine.
We are not advocating that anybody start their own car jousting tournaments.
I am totally advocating that. Yeah, you will end up dead, but I am advocating that. Yes.
Don't go stealing light posts and doing it. You can probably purchase them.
Purchase the lamppost first and then go. Right. Okay.
I mean, I'm advocating that they steal them, that they joust with them, and they just accept the fact that there's going to be consequences for this, but it's worth it for my personal entertainment.
Yeah. Make sure you record it.
Yes. If you want to borrow my action cam, I will gladly donate it towards that endeavor.
Yeah. No, let's BEB in Charleston. Let's just make this happen. We can find the big old field and rent it.
We can make that happen.
We'll reenact it. Maybe we can just bring like some Matchbox cars and
Matchbox cars and two.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be quite as epic.
No, let us record it, right, and then just play it off, and then we can't air any of this part of the conversation, and we'll just fix it in post. So
fix it in post, yeah. I mean, we got Bob Coggin has the all the video equipment you could ever want. Yeah. So get him to film it.
Yeah, that would be a cool thing to do, like when we get together and have like a project to do, to have like I don't know, like make a small video or something like that.
I wanted to try. So I actually wanted to do the what is it? Clam bake or the it was gonna be a crab bake we were gonna do on the beach, where you dig a hole, fill it in with various consumables like wood and banana leaves and stuff like that. Get hot ashes in there, cover it up, and then you put food on top of it.
Yeah.
We planned all of it out, got to the beach, and said, hey, it'd be more fun than that. And we just sat here and drank a lot of beer and had a fire in the fire pit and cooked in the house. And none of it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greatest plans of mice and men.
Yeah, there's not a lot of usually when we get together, it's usually not a lot of pre-thought out things.
No, it's mostly about relaxing and spur of the moment ideas.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we don't have John organizing all the events.
Well, even if we did, like
I tried to organize I organized the beach cooking. That was the first one to be like, hey, you know what's not going to happen this year? That beach cooking that we were talking about. I'm going to sit here and drink some beer.
Like herding cats. Like,
yeah.
In a room trying to.
Really is.
And it's not a whole lot of time, 2-3 days.
Yeah, it's a lot of just reminiscing and stuff like that. Not a lot of planned stuff.
So, one of the reasons that we had Josh on this was because he just got back from doing a fossil dig, archaeological dig,
dinosaur dig,
dinosaur dig.
With
that sounds way better than my description.
Yeah, I forgot. There's a dino shindig that happens like at the same time we were out there. But so I was with another college. My job right now is I'm a lab manager for a geology department at Northern Illinois University, and I've always had interest in rocks and fossils and all that stuff. And as a kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist, but I thought I was an idiot for a lot of my life until like basically I became a nuke and then got out of the Navy, and I was like, oh no, everybody else is the idiot.
Yeah. Turns out.
Yeah, turns out. Surprise, twist ending. So we deal with some paleontology stuff, and I do a lot of. Normally, I operate and fix mass specs and scan electron microscope, and I teach grad students, how to use it and all of that stuff. And I have a geology degree, so I have like that background. Through a friend, I basically got set up with another college that's up in Wisconsin, Carthage University. They or Carthage College. I'm not sure if they're a college or a university. But anyway, they do a lot of vertebrate stuff, and specifically one of the professors there is a vertebrate paleontologist that does stuff with T-Rex. He just named a new species of Tyrannosaur, and he's been doing digs out there for like 15 years, and so through a friend, I got set up with him, and the old tiny vertebrate dinosaur digs, they really weren't that concerned with the things that weren't bone. So like in the early turn of the century, they were using like dynamite and stuff to excavate.
Wow.
And it's been more recently that it's not like, all right, we just need to get these cool things out of the ground and put them on display, as to, okay, let's actually do like real science, try to understand the environment these dinosaurs were living in and the other creatures that were around. And as a result, I actually don't have the book, but so when I got there, they invited me to strictly do plant and pollen dinosaur fossil work. And so they showed me a book of like all the things that they collected over the years, and the good specimens. And it's this bound book that's like 1.5 inches thick, thousands of specimens.
Wow.
There's 2 pages that have plants in there.
Oh.
So so that was my like main role, is to go out there and start like excavating and looking and actually trying to preserve plant and other information, so we can actually start reconstructing the paleoclimate that everything is living in out there. You can also use the plants to date the finds. And so as climate changes and over the millions of years, the area that I'm in was right at the end of right below the KT boundary, so right before No More Dinosaurs.
Okay.
So right before the meteor hit and all that stuff. So
not to take you away from your work, but
yeah.
you mentioned at the beginning of this, they found another species of Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Another Tyrannosaurid, not a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Tyrannosaurus
Right, because
Rex
Rex would be that specific species, right? So it's a different species.
I forgot the species name is Horneri, which is named after Jack Horner, which was is probably the vertebrate paleontologist that most people our age think about. He was the guy that worked with Spielberg on Jurassic Park, I believe, and he was a proponent of like that dinosaurs cared for their young and like uncovering like eggs like in nests and like showing that like dinosaurs like weren't just stupid reptiles that like walked around. They actually had, you know, some society and like herd behavior and parenting and all of that stuff. So
I really wanted the name to be Tyrannosaurus Optimus, just because I was really hoping.
Yeah, there is
or something else, you know.
There is a new there was a new I am not a vertebrate paleontologist, and I don't know all the names. I normally deal with like invertebrates, snails, clams, and stuff, all the boring stuff.
Yeah, you know, somebody's got to.
Yeah, I find it is fascinating. There's a lot of stuff,
right?
But it's not as sexy as
It's not the giant, you know, the biggest of the big dinosaurs or the meanest or the, you know, whatever, most terrorizing.
The you guys, my fellow nerds, can help me out. What is the name of with the two creatures in Ghostbusters 1? Sigourney Weaver is
Ghoul, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper, yeah.
Yeah, but
Gatekeeper and the Keymaster.
For them, that's like
Ghoul is the god, right? Zool, yeah.
Zool. So there's a new species of ankylosaur, which is like the long ones with the club tail and like the spikes on their side.
I know. As soon as you said ankylosaur, I knew exactly what we were talking about. Just for the record,
there's a new species that's called the name is Zool. Like the name is Zool. Like it translates into like Zool, destroyer of shins.
That's awesome.
And that's the actual species name.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So while I was out there, there was a day of like talks and things. There's several different groups that do like digs in the area and stuff. So they have like a get together party, and one of the presentations was talking about Zool, destroyer of shins. So if you just Google Zool, destroyer of shins, like this
wow.
Dinosaur, like,
and did they bring Sigourney Weaver into this for anything?
No, she wasn't around for that part. But
that's funny.
Great. I'm sure maybe some other time. They're still like doing prep work on the speech they found like almost complete like specimen of it. So like it takes a long time to take small bits of rock off of other rock to preserve
I would imagine.
Well, I gotta figure that you're gonna provide a lot of information, because I mean, like you said, the Tyrannosaurus Rex is the sexy dinosaur. Not that I find dinosaurs really
ate everything else.
Right.
I study the things that the Tyrannosaurus ate. So like several levels down on the food chain.
But for every one Tyrannosaurus, you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of these other.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of information.
Triceratops are the considered like the cows of the Cretaceous.
Right. Which was my favorite dinosaur growing up, by the way, was the Triceratops.
Like, so out on the digs, like we were digging up a femur of a T-Rex and a couple other parts of Triceratops, and literally, like, you walk around and you find bits of bone just all over the place, and a lot of it is the most abundant dinosaur is Triceratops, and then most everything else is turtle and croc and gar scales. Those were the true dominant species of the Cretaceous were turtles, crocs, and gar. Like, so, like, at least preserved in the fossil record, that's like lots and lots of turtles.
I believe it. Living here in Florida, I totally believe that.
And what's crazy is, like, of all the species of turtles that were known before, like in the Cretaceous age, all but one group like made it past. Was not bothered by the mass extinction. They were like, yeah, I'm still turtle.
I got a shell. I carry my house on my back, and I can go underwater. I'm good.
Yeah. So they're very normally, like with mass extinctions, like the more well-rounded species, non-specialists, are the ones that like survive. And so again, I don't know about turtles, but they can adapt pretty well. I'm assuming.
You just said
Makes sense.
normally with mass extinctions.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot. There've been several.
Yeah, we're in one right now, apparently. Right. My understanding is that
there's
the rate at which species are dying.
And the shitty part about like science is that you can't definitively say anything. You can just disprove stuff.
Right.
So, it's like trying to. It's a bad part of trying to talk about science to non-scientists, is that we always seem wishy-washy because we are like there's no definitive answer.
Right.
But yeah, there's gaining evidence for a mass extinction
Currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the worries with the acidification of the ocean. The ocean's becoming slightly more acidic. Mix anything that uses calcium carbonate as a shell to
and that's because of the CO2 levels, right, is what causes that. As even if somebody's to say, hey, it's not affecting temperature, which it is, but even if they're saying that it's not, one of the definite side effects of increased CO2 levels is what you're talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And we do a lot of climate research, like in geology. We have several people that look at like old like lake cores and things like that, soft sediment within the recent, like since like the ice age, like that era. And also we have several glaciologists that do stuff down in Antarctica and looking at ice retreats and all that stuff. But so we deal a lot with climate change and stuff like that.
Do you look at the core samples from Antarctica as a reference for anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it depends on what type of samples you're talking about. If you're talking about ice samples, like ice cores from like glaciers, we don't really do anything like with that. But underneath when you have a glacier that is coming off of Antarctica, there's a point where it starts to float, and so it's not on land. And as it melts, all the stuff and material that it's kind of like collected as it's moved over the continent rains out and it's deposited and forms layers of sediment. And you can look at the rate that deposition happens, and so you can tell like how fast the ice is melting and like in what intervals and all that stuff. So a lot of our work looks at a lot of their work looks at actual cores where they have interpreting the different structures they see like in the layers underneath the ice shelf.
I think that's part of the reason that they say there's giant sand dunes at the top of Michigan. Like Michigan at a certain point has like huge sand dunes all of a sudden out of nowhere that don't really exist anywhere else in Michigan. I think it's because of when the glaciers retreated, they dumped all that sand on their way out.
It could be. I'm not sure. Like, I know about like UP Upper Michigan, but I don't know that much about the actual geology of like Michigan itself. I know that we have a lot of sand dunes in over in Indiana, but that's like modern current sand dunes from like sand blowing and moving down longshore current from along the lake and everything. But
Okay.
we have a lot like I actually don't know that much about the geology of like where I'm living at. Illinois is actually pretty boring. There's not a lot of relief topographically, pretty flat, and what is here is mostly glacially driven. So you have a lot of these outwash plains of sediment and things of when the glaciers melted, it left all this stuff. And I haven't taken a regional geology class like about here, so I'm not that knowledgeable about everything here. You can look at like satellite images of Illinois, and you can see like where like the line of where the glacier stopped and where all the sediment like piled up and everything. But it's neat.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. So Phil, you finally got a chance to see Valerian, correct?
Yeah. It was interesting. I liked it.
I give it to use you guys scale. I give like 1/2 trunk up, maybe.
1/2 trunk, okay.
Yeah. I'm as like Fifth Element is a phenomenal movie, even plot holes and like all that stuff like included. Like it's great. But this, what I can say, like visually, like Valerian, like very impressive. Like
yeah,
probably the most impressive like looking movie since Avatar.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Just the diversity and things and the designs are amazing. I love the one general's bodyguards, basically the androids.
Okay.
Like,
yep.
Like the sleek black, shiny. Like that was like
really impressive.
Those are really good looking. Some sexy androids.
Yeah. Well, like that the entire opening sequence, right?
Yeah, I like that too.
Amazing.
I like all of that, and I'm actually intrigued to go read all the comic books now. Phil, you want to give like your impressions, and I would just like to say like a little bit else about Valerian, the comics. That's important.
Well, yeah, there were two things that really stood out to me. One was that during the opening sequence where they're meeting all of the aliens and shaking hands, the variety of body styles was impressive. That you would have that much imagination, and then some of them were like partially robotic, and I think one of them was like all robotic.
The jellyfish.
Yeah.
One creature that had was basically a fish tank with like a robot like around it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
There was
wasn't there one that was like an actual robot, and so
probably like I don't remember all the species that they went through, but I really enjoyed that part of it, and I like that whole idea of like I would hope that mankind would aspire to like that level of like adding on to the space station, actually colonizing like space in some way. Like
and I think that was well done. Like that part of it, I thought was really well done as far as, how do you explain all these? But it comes from the comic, right? So it kind of makes sense that it was well done if they brought that over from the comic. I'm not sure. Like
I'm not sure how the comics started. There is I actually looked up. So like the comic books, they're kind of broken up into like sections, and they're not just like the current comic books that kind of ran on like from one story to
so more of like a graphic novel type.
Yeah, so individual like graphic novels, and they started back in the late 60s, so like right as we were the space race was going on and stuff like that, and they ran from like then until 2000 something, so or at least like things came out. But there's
like 30 years worth, basically, maybe 40. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of
So
content.
one of the titles of the graphics novel is Empire of a Thousand Planets.
Okay.
So I don't know if I haven't looked at the plot of that one. Well, I don't know if that one's analogous to like this movie, or if this came out of that, or if they just used the characters, or what. But I'm actually intrigued to read the comic books.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard. I haven't seen any interviews or anything like that from anyone that is a fan of the comic and saw the movie to see like what their reaction to it was.
Yeah.
You
I'm a
know,
little bit surprised.
I'd like to. I'd be interested to see that because it's always interesting to see like people that were fans of the written material, how they respond to be it movie or television show or whatever that's produced after the fact.
Yeah.
One question I have is so I was surprised that Valerian was the name of the guy in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it had something to do with the world that the city was in.
Yeah.
Well,
the comic books are actually called Valerian and Laureline. Like, they're not just Valerian; it's the two of them.
And I was wondering about that because he's no more of a central character than she is. Like they're both central to the story. It's really strange that it's like Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets or whatever. Like, how'd she get cut out of the title of this thing?
I think that she was a better character in the movie as well. Like she actually maybe like a better actor and had a little bit more character depth. I think I thought Valerian as a character was pretty flat and didn't really have much character development, especially with the kind of forced love story that was in there. That it was.
Yeah, that didn't make any. That seems like it was something like the director had a story and then he took it to the production company and they said, "Well, if we're going to give you, $150 million to produce this thing, there's got to be a love story." And then it got forced in after the fact because it didn't fit. It didn't make any sense. It didn't fit at all. It's like, why are we? Really? Is this necessary?
Well, the whole movies felt like they're trying to fit way too much into that
too.
time period.
Yeah. It was a long movie. It was like over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. There's not really a fan of the movie. I kind of had hopes like that it would be something more Fifth Element-y. I mean, it definitely like looked like it. Even like I saw like a preview for it in the theaters like a year or so ago, and like before the title or anything, or I looked anything up, I was like, I saw like the character designs, and I was like, this looks like Fifth Element, and like I was like, there's somebody on this team is associated with the film. It has to be.
Yeah.
But
well, it kind of felt like the whole movie was kind of a showcase for people's imaginations. Like if you especially if you look at the part where he was running through the space station.
Yeah.
They were showing all of these different environments with all the different types of people and
destroying like all of their like draining all the water peoples. Like I could just like I don't
like
know,
how did the entire station the 30 seconds after the end of the movie is the entire station going into civil war with itself because this asshole ran through 80 stories of environment that these creatures were living in, killing half of them on the way through. Yeah. Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Yeah,
this is just going to be one big spoiler episode.
Yeah.
That's okay. We said it at the top. They should have figured it out by now.
2 hours and 17 minutes for Valerian.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So have either you seen the, not directly Valerian related, but the Dark Tower yet?
No. I heard bad things about it. And
I did too. Geek confession, I've never read the books, even though I apparently should have, and it's on my list now of things to read.
Neither have I. I've tried like
Oh, really?
2 times, I think, and I just haven't like been able to get through it. And I don't know if it was just like it's actually the book. This is like pre-Audible days where like now I like churn through books like several a week.
Okay.
So I'm gonna purchase an Audible and just have it. I'm just gonna power through the whole series probably. But
yeah, I was listening to a podcast yesterday about it, and it wasn't good things being said. Apparently, it's very, I guess, young adult is what it's focused on, and it doesn't really match up with the stories from the book, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I saw the so I saw with the previews, like it have the the gunman, Idris Elba, there, and then like there was like a
Right.
kid that he's protecting, and I was like, I don't remember, like, is this like later in the book? Because I don't really remember that much focus on a kid or anything.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. I was listening to Kevin Smith and oh my gosh, what's our dude's name? Mark Bernardin talk about it. And Mark Bernardin, I believe, is a film critic for the LA Times, if I remember right, along with like his storied history of being a film critic. And they were talking about it. And I guess the kid is like in the book somewhere along the way, but he's not a central focus. And they shifted it to where he is a central focus in this movie.
But then he's not like, that seems really weird if they had any plans to continue on with the series, where I don't know, but I'd imagine like a minor character doesn't show up in the other books.
Yeah, so spoilers to say this ahead of time this time. I'm going to spoil a big plot point out of the movie. I'm guessing you guys don't care?
No.
Okay. So the man in black dies in the Dark Tower. In this movie, he gets killed, which I guess he's supposed to be a continuous plot point within the book series. He doesn't just get wiped out in like the first book or something like that. Based on my understanding of it, he is like a central figure throughout the whole thing. Yeah, they kill him in the movie.
So it does not directly follow the books.
No.
Yeah, I'll watch it when it comes out. Like,
Right.
Give it a week and it'll be out.
Yeah, it's going to be one of my film watches. You know, there's too many other movies I want to see in theater, especially with all the comic book movies that are coming out right now. That.
Well, you're going to have to get somebody who's going to watch that, because I'm probably not going to watch it.
Yeah.
It'll be like a couple years from now when it shows up on Netflix. I'll watch it one day or something.
Okay.
So have you seen Spider-Man, John or Phil?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I have. Fantastic.
Yeah, super great. Super happy I went to it. I was kind of questioning whether or not going to that, because the couple of previous Marvel movies, I was like, like I was really down on Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Really?
Yeah. I'd have to collect my thoughts on that. But
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to delve into that this one.
Yeah. No. So, but yeah, Spider-Man like was back like in power. Like that was there's like a lot of things I liked about that movie.
That's
and I really
excellent
hope
to hear.
Huh?
I'm glad you're saying that, because I've only seen the trailers, but it looks good, and this kid seems much more engaging than any of the other characters that have played him
And the
before.
supporting cast is actually there. It's not just like it's you do a
Andrew
lot of
Garfield
things.
was the last one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I always felt like it was kind of like the Andrew Garfield show. Like I thought he was great as far as like Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and the tone and the voice and all that stuff, like awesome.
Yeah.
But then like I watched those again recently because I was trying to remember how I really felt about them, and it falls off. Like Gwen Stacy's great and he's great, and then it just kind of like tumbles downward from there. And you know, Harry Osborn is atrocious, and you know all this other stuff that's going on. That's like this is hardly watchable.
Their Harry Osborn was Valerian.
It's
right?
Valerian, yeah, same guy, yeah. Which I like him more as Valerian than I do as Harry Osborn. Haven't gone back and watched Spider-Man again, which wasn't his. I mean, it's not they acted it poorly. It's just like their Harry Osborn was like the jazz playing Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Like, yeah, same character that doesn't belong anywhere in the franchise.
So one of the reasons that this makes me happy is that the last time I really enjoyed a Spider-Man show or movie was the original TV show that aired back in the 80s. You remember that, playing along with Wonder Woman with Linda Carter, I believe it was? Like
same time, you mean?
Yeah.
Like
I think they showed like one right after the other, and the effects were really horrible.
Yeah,
so,
it was pretty bad.
Like you could see that he was like just moving his arms and legs as he was being towed up a wall. But back then,
nice.
you couldn't rely on special effects as much as you do now. And you know, like the lizard guy and the past Spider-Man, I mean, that was all CGI, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. This one focuses a lot on like Peter Parker being dealing with the issues of having superpowers and being an awkward teenager and trying to be in that life, as well as dealing and wanting to be a grown-up and all that.
Yeah.
It's pretty well. It's done
Pretty great,
well.
yeah.
And none
I mean,
of it's really like ham-fisted. Like it's not. It's good. I like
and that's
all of
kind
it.
of the thing that Marvel has figured out is that the central focus of the story shouldn't be on the fact that these guys have powers and watching them show off their powers and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that's cool
That's
for
where,
like
Transformers,
5 minutes
fucked
and
up.
then it falls apart. The central focus has got to be the story. Like, it has to be a standalone movie that's awesome by itself. And then you go and you add in the fact that these guys have powers and they can do cool stuff too. And you end up with this fantastic movie. You know, you end up with Iron Man. You know,
And
Tony Stark's totally watchable by himself. And like, I could just watch a Tony Stark movie with the writing that they have in the Iron Man films, and I'd be good to go. He wouldn't even have to put on the suit. I could watch that movie. And then you put him in the suit, and it's fantastic.
And then you have him design a Spider-Man suit.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
So you haven't seen it yet, Phil, right?
No.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you want to talk about with it, I can step out of the room. But
No, I won't spoil any of it. Just that if
There's
you
one
like,
part, like the Tony Stark does like design like his like suit like in Spider-Man, and like there's an AI like in it,
yeah,
and that's probably my least favorite part. Like there's parts of that were like my least favorite part of it. It could have been done like a little bit differently, and I would have like really liked it. But
really,
yeah,
So-
I won't go into it too
Yeah.
much.
no, actually, you can talk about it. It's not going to ruin it for me. I'm still going to go watch
Yeah,
it.
it's just the way that it was carried out and the dialogue like choices or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. It seemed a little bit corny to me.
yeah, it was.
And I think it might have been meant. I think it was meant to be like that.
It was
supposed to be like a comedic relief part, but it just kind of fell flat on me.
It's a little forced, right?
Yeah.
It works and it's funny and
It seemed like a Marvel TV show where there's like we need a little bit more stuff here. What can we add into here? Like.
Well, for the trailer, it seemed to work great.
Yeah. So I don't know if I don't think they had anything with the suit. Like the suit actually has like a voice, like a character.
Yeah, that was in one of the trailers. It showed that there's like a bunch of subsystems that are not enabled because of something.
Yeah.
Under like the babysitting protocol.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things of the entire of the movie, and this isn't really spoiling anything for everybody, is when he's at one point Spider-Man gets stuck in this military facility, right? He basically gets locked in a facility and he can't get out. And he's sitting there just like screwing around like a kid would, kind of like trying to pass the time. And he asks the AI how long it's been, and she's like, "Yeah, it's been 15 minutes."
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was like a big like montage of like him doing all this stuff. And he's like trying to wait till morning, basically, or when they open it back up. And he's like, "How long has it been? 15." Like what?
You didn't have a little.
We gotta get out of here.
Yeah. So I'd recommend seeing that too, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I plan to.
Cool.
All right. Anything else, guys?
I think that might be it for this week, guys. On this week's episode. As always, guys, if you haven't checked us out on social media yet, we've got our Twitter account, we've got Facebook, Instagram too. For some reason, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing with that yet, but it's out there. If you use Instagram, we do have one. But if you guys are listening to this, you like it, make sure you go to iTunes and give us some reviews there. They do help out. They help other people find the show and make it recognizable, people, so we can keep doing this thing. Thank you, Josh, for joining us this week. We definitely appreciate it.
My pleasure. Love to be back anytime.
And thanks to our editor, as always, David Smith, who puts all this together for us and gets it out there. And, Phil, you got anything to add as we wrap up here?
No, can't think of anything right now.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us for another episode. We'll see you next time.